Hi, guys. I hope everybody has had a fantastic day. Um, I am, for the first time, making a reaction video. I've never done this before, and it's not a good one, unfortunately. And I'm not one to call people out because I believe everyone has the right to their own opinions. My hands are still shaking because I'm angry. And it's a reaction video to a reel. When I got home from work, I literally just got home from work, and I popped open my phone and opened Instagram quickly, and there's a reel there, and it's by a woman I have so much tremendous respect for. She protected the president of the United States. She worked and saved lives during 9/11. She is an international hero. She's someone that many millions and millions of people of all ages, genders, religions, every background looks up to and admires. I admire her and value her insight and her advice and her knowledge so much. I own her book, Evie Poumpouras, Bulletproof. And the book is called Becoming Bulletproof. Wonderful book. I advise everybody to buy it. To be honest with you, it's a wonderful book. And she is a brilliant woman. But she made a reel that was so tone deaf and dangerous and based on subjective experience and not facts. My hands are still shaking. And it's a dangerous reel. The information that she actually shared in the reel is based on my education, my knowledge, and my experience. Very dangerous information. And I'm going to share this reel with you, actually a clip of it, not the whole thing. And then we're going to talk about it. So have a quick watch. It's about 30 seconds long.
I will say this, it is okay to be depressed. It is okay to have anxiety. It is okay to feel bad. I think maybe that's the issue because we're in a space where, oh, you're depressed? There's something wrong with you. You have anxiety? Whoa. I had anxiety every day when I went to training. Those are okay things to have. So I feel like maybe we should change the narrative and normalize feeling bad. Instead of making people feel like you're sad, take this pill. You have anxiety? Something's wrong with that. Why is that bad? Why do I have to be like every ridiculous commercial? Because in the US, we advertise prescription medication where I'm smiling all the time and happy. My barometer for life is not to be happy. The moments that I've done the most amazing things in my life, I've not been happy. I've been fulfilled. I've been like, man, I just did that. When I would wake up at 3 a.m. to go to the White House to stand post for 10 hours outside the Oval Office in the freezing cold in the winter, I wasn't happy. It was freezing.
Okay.
I was cold. But you know what? I was like, man,
Big problems here. First of all, Evie discusses sadness and how we're normalizing sadness, and then a sentence later talks about depression as if they're the same thing. And I want to be clear, and I'm going to be so factual and clear on this. I'm going to read it specifically because depression is the DSM criteria and sadness is an emotion. Two different things. It is normal to feel sadness and experience periods of sadness. It is not normal to experience depression. Okay? And to say that we are normalizing it and advising people to take medication, well, medication is life-saving for the lives of those who suffer from clinical depression and sometimes for the lives of those around them. So let me talk a little bit about clinical depression. First of all, sadness is an emotion that is fleeting. It's based on an environmental situation. It's based on an experience, and it is as fleeting as a laugh is or a hiccup. It is an emotion that you feel. It will come and it will go. Depression, okay, is based on factors such as complex brain interactions and that are caused by chemicals, neurotransmitters, hormones, and your brain structure, okay? So first of all, let's talk about the neurotransmitters involved. So there's serotonin, there's dopamine, there is norepinephrine, there's glutamate, there is gamma, which is gamma aminobutyric acid, GABA, which everybody has heard of GABA probably, acetylcholine, Okay, that's the neurotransmitters. Then hormones, and I could get into what all of these do, but the video would take forever. Hormonal factors, cortisol levels, thyroid hormones. Then there's neuroplasticity that has a large impact on whether or not you suffer from depression. So people with depression have reduced neurogenesis, lower production of neurons, okay? New neurons. Their brain has less ability to be neuroplastic. That means to create new neurological pathways and connections and to adapt, which I've made many videos about, and how important this is to our survival, to our ability to adapt, to make changes, to be able to navigate throughout our lives, okay? Is our ability for our brain to be neuroplastic and to experience neuroplasticity, okay? So they have reduced neurogenesis, lower production of neurons, especially in the hippocampus, is observed during depression. Amygdala overactivity. The amygdala is responsible for processing emotions, so it often shows increased activity in depressed individuals. So the sadness you feel, if you have actual clinical depression, multiply that by 100, and then make it make it an unfleeting emotion and not caused by anything but deficiencies or overactivities of all of those neurotransmitters I mentioned, the hormones I mentioned, and such as very important ones like dopamine and serotonin and gamma aminobutyric acid and acetylcholine and cortisol levels, and all of these very important factors that make depression a physical health issue, not an experience of an emotionally fleeting event like sadness, okay? And then the video discusses let's like normalize throwing pills at it. Well, actually, that's like a comparison of saying someone with diabetes, we're normalizing diabetes. Let's just throw insulin at it. We shouldn't be doing that. Well, without it, they'll die. So, depression, quality of life, and the ability to carry on a life is dependent sometimes, most often, for clinical depression on whether someone takes their medication. Medication is the difference between being able to get out of bed, being able to have a job, being able to care for your children, being able to feel anything, being able to motivate yourself to get dressed, being able to motivate yourself to eat, being able to sleep, okay? It is your brain. If you suffer clinical depression, you're unable to complete the tasks of daily living. It's not a choice. It's not it's not, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time getting through this video. I'm so angry. It's not an experience of somebody who has poor or lack of motivation or a lack of personal determination. She does continue on in this reel to discuss how feeling anxiety helped make her more determined, and it helped in her success. It empowered her, and it gave her strength, and it gave her the motivation. And I'm sorry, people with anxiety disorders are suffering so severely they vomit sometimes all day long. They can't stay out of the bathroom because they're so physically ill from anxiety. They're unable to contribute to life. They're unable, most of them find themselves, people with severe depression and anxiety, if it goes untreated, find themselves jobless, homeless, losing their families. They lose their jobs when they experience it if it goes untreated, okay? Poor medication management usually results in people self-medicating, which contributes to abuse of drugs, recreational drugs, alcoholism, all these sorts of things. The most important factor in treating depression and major depressive disorders and anxiety disorders is medication adherence and therapy and counseling, which is consistent, and it is almost lifelong, because this is a physical illness. It is a disease. Nobody chooses to suffer from clinical depression or severe anxiety disorders, okay? it ruins their life. It takes away everything that they love and all of their joy. And sometimes all they can do is cry, and they can't stop crying, and they don't know why, because no matter what's going on around them, these chemicals and these hormones that I discussed and these neurotransmitters are so out of whack that it's impossible for them to live, just like it would be impossible for a diabetic to carry on a healthy and positive and productive lifestyle without their insulin. Okay? So advising people to not throw medication at their severe major depression or their depressive disorder or their anxiety disorder is such dangerous advice that it could be the difference between people living either a good quality of life, having any quality of life, or living at all. Because people who suffer from chronic depression often fall victim to self-harm. Very, very often. I didn't even look up the statistics to it because it's such a ridiculous argument. Everybody knows this. It's a major cause of self-harm. It's a major, and the reason is because a lot of times self-harming releases serotonin, and it releases, dopamine, and it gives people a spike in their emotion, that activity. So they self-harm as a self-soothing mechanism, or they self-medicate because they do need medication, but they're scared to take a pill because somebody makes them feel bad about taking a pill, or they don't want to be labeled as being on a pill. So normalizing depression and anxiety disorders is the best thing our culture could be doing, because so many people suffer from it, and they've suffered in silence and in shame and in the privacy without reaching out and asking for help and talking about it with people. And it has caused the loss of lives. It has caused such serious dependence on drugs and alcohol that people have lost their lives as a secondary result because of their dependence on these substances, because they were self-medicating. The best thing we have done in our culture is normalized in the last 5 years for people suffering from these diseases and illnesses is to normalize it and make it okay and acceptable to talk about, because when it comes down to it, no one picks depression, no one picks anxiety disorder, no, just like nobody picks diabetes, nobody picks cancer, nobody picks to have a kidney dysfunction, nobody picks any of these things. Nobody chooses to be unwell. All we can do is do our very best to stay as healthy as we can and work holistically, mind, body, spirit. But working holistically also means working with healthcare providers and trusting them. And if a medical healthcare provider advises that you need medication, then you bet you should be taking your medication. Stopping these medications, let me advise anybody, is very dangerous and can cause high levels of suicidal ideation. It can cause a lot of physical symptoms and dangerous physical symptoms such as seizures and things that can cardiac symptoms. It can cause symptoms that can be the difference between life or death if you just stop your medications. They're not something you just stop and you start at will based on determination and your personal resilience and strength. This is a medical problem. It needs to be treated medically. It needs to be looked at holistically. But medical treatment is essential in the ability for someone suffering from these diseases to be able to live a life. And medication gives somebody with a depressive disorder or an anxiety disorder the ability to function, to have a job, to have a family, to engage with their loved ones, to engage with their friends, to stay social, to feel positive, to wake up every day and not just lay in bed and wait for the day to be over again. Okay? So if you stumble across this video on your Instagram or on your feeds or anywhere, don't pay attention to it, because I'm so shocked this advice came from this gal, because she's brilliant and she's knowledgeable, and with her education and training, I know she knows about mental health. And mental health is not something to just blow off and say that it's a choice, because like my hands are still shaking. It is not a choice. And it's not the same as being sad. Depression and anxiety is not the same as being nervous. Anxiety isn't being nervous to talk about, to have it, to present a speech or a presentation. Depression is not being sad about a breakup, okay? Depression is when you can't eat, when you can't sleep, when you can't get dressed, when no matter how bad you want to play with your kids because you can hear them laughing and you can hear them playing in the next room. I'm going to cry. I'm so upset about this because I've seen so many people lose their lives because of this illness and this disease. I've seen so many young people lose their lives. I've seen so many people from all ages and walks of lives not be able to live their life because of this disease and this illness, and because of poor management of it and inconsistent medication regimens and being not taking their medication the way they should. And then I've seen so many people's lives flourish and blossom and bloom and become beautiful and wonderful because they received the treatment finally, and they worked with their doctors to treat this terrible disease and these terrible illnesses. So if you suffer from any of these illnesses, it's not a matter of personal motivation or your personal determination or your strength. And taking medication is not throwing pills at it. It's treating a serious health condition. And you need to be proud of yourself for having the determination to see a doctor and to undergo treatment and to stick to it through the hard times and to work hard and do the things you need to do to make your life beautiful, and to have faith that life can get better and can be okay, and to keep trying medications, because not always does the first one work. Sometimes it takes a few. It's not a quick fix. It's not a Band-Aid fix. It's a lot of work to find the right medication sometimes to help you, but it can save your life and it can give you a beautiful life. And I advise anyone suffering to please, it is normal. Don't abnormalize it, because just like tons of people have diabetes, there are a ton of people who suffer from depressive disorders and anxiety disorders, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be embarrassed of. Just like you might be born with blonde hair or brown hair, you might be born thicker or thinner, you might be born as you might be born with a physical deformity, you might be born with blue eyes or green eyes. We're all born with different things, but you also might be born with chemicals in your brain that aren't the norm, the way they function and the way they work, and your brain structure not being the same as everybody else's. And it needs to be treated just like any other medical condition needs to be treated in order to live your very best life. So that's all I want to say. And no disrespect to this gal. I'll buy her next book and her next book and her next book too. And I'll read all of them because she has so much wonderful advice to share and for us to learn from. She's a brilliant woman. I don't know where this information came from and why she made this real, but I'm shocked, and I'm going to pretend I didn't see it, because I'm not going to base my opinion on her based on this one piece of information, which nobody should ever base their opinion of somebody based on one thing. But just this piece of advice, this was dangerous, and I don't want it to impact anybody. So that's all I have to say, guys. I hope everyone has a great day. And if you're going to take advice about medical conditions that you find that you hear people talk about on the internet, talk to your doctor about it first. That's all. Talk to your doctor, talk to your healthcare professional, talk to somebody who that's their specialty. That is their specialty. That's what they do with their life. Okay? Don't take advice off Instagram, off YouTube, off the internet. It might be cause to go talk to a doctor. It might be information enough for you to do some research and find some facts for yourself, but make it a reason to go fact finding from the professionals. Don't make it your answer and your solution. That's all. Take care, everybody, and thanks for watching.